When Mitt Romney appointed 4 women as Associate Superior Court judges in Massachusetts when he was governor, was he more focused on their gender and, quote, diversifying the court, and less focused on how effective they'd actually be while on the bench? Well, that seems to be the case with at least one of those judges. After a convicted killer was released from prison for good behavior and rearrested, she set him free. In a matter of just months, he killed 2 more people confessing to that crime. The question is, will Romney's poor choice of judges hurt him in his run for the White House? Joining me now is someone who thinks it might, DeRoy Murdoch. He's a syndicated columnist with Scripps Howard and a contributing editor with the National Review Online. DeRoy, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Tucker, how are you?
I'm great. It's kind of a devastating piece you've written about Mitt Romney's record on these judges. Is it as clear as that in an effort to, quote, diversify the court, put more women on the court, he appointed a mediocre judge?
Well, this piece I did, which is on nationalreview.com right now, points out a couple things. One is that the Romney team was very enthused when this Judge Tutman was named, that this was adding to the diversity on the court and bringing more women on the court and so on. There wasn't much of a focus on the law and order issue, which is how Mitt is trying to put it now. But I think much more telling than this particular very tragic and troubling case is Mitt's overall crime record, which is really very, very lackluster. He has been going around saying that he reduced violent crime in the state of Massachusetts by 8%. In fact, crime did drop by 8%, but a lot of other things went up. For example, homicides went up 7.5% while he was governor of Massachusetts. At the same time, here in New York City, homicide fell by about 67%. You had an increase in robbery of about 12% in Massachusetts, while robberies fell 67% in Massachusetts. So you go through these figures, and while some things did drop in Massachusetts, a lot of other things went up very, very dramatically, and overall what you have is a picture of a pretty weak record on crime on the part of the Romney administration in Massachusetts.
To what extent can a governor control crime rates?
Well, I mean, I think he can get a number of things done. One is trying to get his legislative efforts passed by the State House. He did have one good idea, which was to get the state and local police to report to the FBI the arrest warrants for various crimes around the state. He proposed that late in his term, and unfortunately the legislature didn't pass it. The legislature in Massachusetts had a tendency of not passing many of his proposals, and part of it was, I think, that they just stopped trusting him because he'd say one thing one day and say something else contradictory the next, and he ended up finding himself frustrated, rather than in New York City, where Giuliani had 51 seats in the city council. Only 7 were Republican, and the city council went along with almost everything he wanted to do on crime and on other things, and you saw an overall 67% decrease in homicide, 56% decrease in crime. Much, much more impressive results in the area of law and order.
But back to the case that is the centerpiece of your story in National Review. The judge, Kathy Tutman, as you said, appointed, a Democrat appointed by Mitt Romney, seems, from reading your story, negligent in this case. Daniel Tavares, the guy who's been charged with these 2 more murders, left the state. He just got out of jail. He was supposed to meet with his probation officer. He didn't. He instead got married and moved to Washington State, across the country, and no one appears to have looked for him. Is that right? The state didn't do anything to find him?
He disappeared. He went off to Washington State. The prosecutors asked for $50,000 bail because he had originally killed his mother, stabbed her with a carving knife. In jail, he allegedly attacked a couple of prison guards, hit one on the head, told another one, "I'm going to kill you." And then in some document, he threatened to kill Mitt Romney. He threatened to kill the Attorney General and so forth. And despite all of this, the Judge Tutman, appointed by Mitt Romney, decided to let him go. She rejected the prosecutor's appeal to keep him on $50,000 bail. She reversed a lower court decision that he should in fact be held on bail of $50,000. And she even rejected the prosecutor's request that he be given some sort of an ankle bracelet so they could track him. And so she said, "You're on probation, just see your probation officer, and go get a job as a welder, move in with your sister, everything will be fine." Off he went, moved to Washington State, and then allegedly killed a young couple, a 28-year-old and a 30-year-old, by, as police say, shooting them 3 times in the face.
Now, in your story, you quote Romney's then spokesman, the governor's office spokesman, as saying that Governor Romney is seeking to appoint judges who reflect the diversity of the community. In other words, using a pretty strict affirmative action standard for judicial appointments. Is that still his position, candidate Romney's position, that affirmative action ought to be a key criterion in choosing judges?
I've not heard him repeat that, and I imagine after this he probably won't if that's what he thinks. I think the issue should not be the race or the gender of a judicial nominee, but what the nominee's judicial temperament is, what the nominee's record is in terms of past performance, perhaps as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, as a defense lawyer, if that's something of interest. It should not be on the basis of a person's skin tone or chromosomes. And I think the Romney administration got so caught up in that, they ended up putting this judge on the bench, and we've had this disastrous decision with now 2 people dead, and this vicious killer, again, allegedly going out and committing the same crimes over again.
What a tragedy. Roy Murdoch, great story. Thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate it.